ladies and gentlemen, and a very welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm Lord Hillsbury, and with me on the line we have Beastie. Hello there, Beastie.
Hello, Lord H. How you doing?
Not bad, thank you very much. Not bad at all. Fudgy, how are you, old boy?
I'm all right, sir. How's it going? How was the Christmas period? I trust everyone was all right, yeah?
Oh, Lord, and it took like a good old boy. And Mr. Edwards here as well. We have a full house today. Eddie, old boy, how are you?
Hello there, Lord H. I'm sorry I've not been around much recently. I don't want to go into it too much, but suffice to say, I've been in hiding because it turned out that it was my recommendation that we got Jay Bothroyd on loan.
I'd stay in hiding, old boy. Stay in hiding. So, chaps, it has to be said, we've been away for a while, and we've missed quite a few games, and it's been a very interesting festive period for the Owls. We've had quite.
Some of us have been away a lot longer than others, though. Some of us have been swanning around on the piste, whilst us, like me and Fudge, have been here grinding away. Well, not grinding, obviously. No, there was no grinding going on. I'll take that back.
That was the reason I left the country. I thought I might end up getting involved in some of that grinding.
Right, I take that back. There was no grinding going on. Right, but me and Fudge have been working our fingers to the bone. No, that's not much better, really, is it?
Well, it's important that Sheffield Wednesday have a firm footing in Europe and beyond. Now, Fudgy has done his best spreading the word of Wednesday across the EU, because he's generally over there every 1 week in two. So I thought I'd get a piece of the action. I went over to France, because if there's one thing that they're lacking in Alpine France, it's a football team. And so I thought that Wednesday could fill the gap.
Oh, right.
So, how many times did you mention Chris Waddle when you were out there, Eddie?
Literally. I'm not being funny. I do speak quite good French, but the one sentence that has served me so well in all my time going to France is, oui, Chris Waddle, Marseille, Sheffield Wednesday, Chris Waddle, oui.
Sounds like a sketch from the Fast Show, brother.
Yeah, absolutely is.
Right, so Fudge gets to swan around in Barcelona, you get to swan around up on mountains skiing around, and I get to go to Hull.
Hull.
Right, so how is that fair?
Hang on, Beast. I think you're not giving it its full name. I'm sure in some parts it's called Hollywood.
No, it ain't. Nowhere calls it Hollywood.
Only in the same places that Castleford is called Cas Vegas.
Excuse me. I live near there. It's Cas Vegas, Ponte Carlo, and Beverly Hills at Featherstone. Thank you very much. Oh, well, they've just got another one now at Normanton, Vietnam.
Oh, dear me.
Right, so these are the places I get to swan around out of there. Is this what you're telling me?
Yeah, you're the England correspondent. Me and Eddie are obviously the European
Bureau.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Oh, dear. So, basically, I do believe you did point out that we was due a rather good festive season, and you were looking at the games, and you were expecting a few points from old boy.
Yeah, well, as you'd expect, I won't forget something like that. Yeah, if I say something, I always remember it. Yeah, as predicted, I said we'd do well over the Christmas period. I said we'd pick up a load of points. And we did. It was a fantastic Christmas period, really, wasn't it? All right, a little blemish at the end there, but we can't. Most Wednesday fans can't really complain certainly at the haul of points that we took from all them teams.
Absolutely.
I think the most encouraging thing about it is we broke down that 5-point gap between us and the. I mean, there was us four. There's Bristol City, Peterborough, and Barnsley, and then there was like a 5-point gap, and we've broken that down now to, I think it's 3 now. But my concern is we tend to pick points off the teams that I didn't think we would and drop points against teams that we did. I know it sounds like I'm nitpicking because we did have a great Christmas, but we should have took points off of Charlton as opposed to them take points off us. But I mean it's encouraging, but I wish Peterborough had Jeff off. Where did they had a better Christmas than we did?
They have a rather good time of it at the minute, haven't they?
It's been a funny thing, actually, because, I mean, to be honest, if it hadn't been for Saturday tea time, it could have been different, couldn't it? If we'd have come into this podcast, and Lord knows, Sheffield Wednesday do probably exist from week to week on what we say on this podcast.
Absolutely.
If we'd have come into this podcast on the back of the Burnley performance, the MK Dons performance, and then a loss against Hull, we might have all been singing a slightly different tune. But as it happened, we've probably had our best performance of the season on Saturday evening. So everyone's happy, everyone's smiling, and it actually puts into perspective what we've done since, the kind of middle of December, where we've actually turned it round to the extent that we're top of the form table. Now, yeah, it's been annoying that bloody Peterborough have managed to pick up points all the time as well until this Saturday. But the end result is that we are the one team out of those bottom four who have managed to start to bridge that gap. We're not there yet, but you look at the teams above us and they're not pulling up any trees. So if we can continue in this run of form, we've got to be fairly confident of getting into that group of lower mid-table sides rather than being in that group of bottom four, because you don't want to be, 3 going down and only 1 staying up in that group. You'd sooner be looking down on the bottom 3 and waiting for them to make up a 5.6 point gap.
Oh yeah, definitely. But are you like me? I mean, if you look at the teams we're chasing, I mean, it's Wolves, Birmingham, Bolton. These are teams that I perceive as being in a false position. Are we expecting them to kick on at any point and just absolutely just start romping points home?
No,
I mean, Ipswich have had a bit of resurgence under Barnsley, Mick, but I don't. Do you know what I mean? Are they in a false position, or do you reckon they're just as gash as we are?
I don't see those 3 clubs, even though, in terms of recent history, they are 3 big ex-Premiership names, but every one of them has got problems. They've all got big debts. They're all in absolute disarray, both on and off the field. So, no, I think they're in an absolutely correct position because they don't have it this season. We're going into a match at home against Wolves, and whereas at the start of the season, that would probably be the home game that I'll be worrying about the most. I'm sitting there thinking, you know what? We should turn these over because they're not a good team at the moment. I don't care about new managers. I don't care about a fresh start for them. They're not as good a team as the team that came down, and they're certainly not as good a team as their name suggests.
If you think back to when we were last talking, Fudge, we were on about the league not lying, and we were in the right position for what we'd been doing. And that's the same for them other teams, for Bolton, for Blackburn, for Wolves. They're all, to me, when we've watched them this season, I think they've been really poor.
Bolton definitely. I agree with you on Bolton. When they came to Hillsborough, we do you know what I mean? They didn't exactly set the world alight like I thought they would.
But neither did Wolves. I did the
Wolves away. They were terrible, weren't they?
Well, they were absolutely dreadful. And I remember doing the ramble after that game and getting really stuck into them about how dreadful they were and taking some right slaver from Wolves fans for it. And I was saying, look, you need to wake up because you are not a good side. And they were saying, yeah, we're a great side and you don't know what you're talking about. Well, and they were telling me how good their manager is. Well, that's not worked out really, has it?
Those teams around and about there, like I say, you what you call big Premiership teams, Birmingham, Ipswich, Wolves, again, they're only just above us, and Bolton only at 16th. I mean, I think it can be safely said they're doing, what can be easily classed as doing a Wednesday, and falling rather rapidly from the top flight. But again, if you look at the first couple of games there, chaps, we've got Barnsley, Charlton, Bolton, and Huddersfield, of course, all clean sheets for us, boys. 4 clean sheets in a row.
Yeah. The daft thing is, when we started this little bit of a run of a festive period, it started with that Barnsley game. And I hate it when the game's on the telly because you get every man and his dog's got an opinion. Don't get me wrong, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But suddenly, everybody is the best manager in the world and they don't have to give us some stick. We won that game. Right, but if you listen to the Wednesday fans, you won't believe that we'd won that game because it wasn't about winning, it wasn't about getting the 3 points, it was about putting in a performance against our local rivals, and they were absolutely distraught at how poorly we played. I didn't give a monkey's how we played. The only thing that mattered to me in that Barnsley game, in all these games of a festive period, the only thing that mattered was the point, and I said that to you. Fudge, when we were talking before, we said, I asked you, didn't I? Would you take a rubbish performance but 3 points? Yeah. And you said every day at week.
Yeah, so it's a results-based game. You're dead right. And like with the Barnsley game as well. I mean, like I said last time, it's a local derby. All bets are off. It doesn't matter. And I tell you the telling thing. about it is that when teams start playing better, they get the rub of the green, and we definitely got that against Barnsley. I don't think we were terrible, but we had the rub of the green. We got a bit of luck. And I think we deserved it.
It was Gary Medine bowling the keeper over. I think what it was.
All right. So in terms when I said look,
I mean, in the right place at the right time for a chef.
Yeah. When I said look, I mean, all right. The referee decided to develop cataracts at one point in the game, but
going back to that Charlton game. Again, I took quite a bit of stick from the Charlton fans afterwards because
I can see a pattern emerging here, Beastie.
Well, I'm not right chuffed with Charlton fans. They do me nothing. They've got absolutely no sense of humour. And when we go down there, I always try and talk to them, but they never ever talk back. It's like trying to get blood out of a stone.
East London, mate.
They are the worst fans that I've come across. They are absolutely dreadful. And I must admit, when I did the write-up about Charlton, I really gave it to them, both battles, and how pleased I was that we'd won that game, and we'd won it convincingly, because I didn't think we deserved to lose to them last season. I thought they got away with murder with that one.
They mugged us last year.
Yeah, exactly. They mugged us. That one goal, they did us Blades in a week, didn't they? With the same goal, an identical goal from Johnny Jackson.
And then time wasting from the 10th minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this time, I just loved that game. I wanted us to beat them, and we did. And it was 2-0, and I thought it was pretty convincing. And I was pleased to give it to Chris Powell. I used to like Chris Powell when he played for England, but them days are gone. Right? He's a gobby little shit.
I was willing to miss that.
When he played for England. He's a Jane
stalwart, Chris Powell.
You're the only person old enough to remember that, Beastie.
Exactly. Right? He's a gobby little shit, and he's always having a go at Wednesday, and it's just so disrespectful in defeat. He's disrespectful in victory. I don't know what he wants. You know, he was moaning when they beat us. He was moaning when we beat them. What does he want? We're not going to draw just for the sake of making him happy. So yeah, I took great delight in that Charlton game, and I hope we can do double over them. That'd really make it for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just see if I can get him on the phone.
So, of course, the revelation of Mr. Helen came in on the Charlton game. Of course, on we move chaps to Bolton ever so quickly. And again, just the one highlight from that game, Sidibe actually doing something worth doing, chaps, with a stonking diving header.
But you know what? Even a stop clock is right twice a day. And he just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and it just happened. So let's not try and go in too deeply into this. That was just... I could have been there and I would have scored it. You could have been there, you would have scored it.
Like a trip
to be fair to Sidibe, he does get a little bit too much of unwarranted stick, in my opinion. But
he hasn't scored in 3 years, Beast. How is that unwarranted?
Well, unwarranted stick, but
yeah, but
it's crap.
I haven't flown a plane in 3 years.
That makes you a crap pilot.
Right, exactly. No, I mean, he hasn't played football in 3 years. The point was that I thought he did all right in that game. I thought he looked more mobile, a lot more agile in that game. But that wasn't the highlight. The highlight of that Bolton game for me was how we defended. And we defended so well. It was absolutely fantastic. It was like holding a little kid at arm's length. They threw everything at us. They've got loads of good players at Bolton. Absolutely loads of good players that would walk into our side. But they couldn't break us down. No matter what they did, we held firm. And it was a cracking defensive performance from us. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
It's been the story of this festive period, though, hasn't it, really, Beast? That finally, that defence has kind of found its identity. And, you know, when you're struggling, when you're down the wrong end of the league, the one thing that you need to have to climb out of it is a defence that plays for each other and that can do the job, no matter what they're faced by. And they've had some tough tests, you know, and I know I've just said that it's not a false position that likes of Bolton are in, but they've got dangerous players. And early on in the season, it didn't matter who you were. If you had a dangerous player, you could be guaranteed to score 2 goals or 3 goals against us. So when you've got a team that up front is only getting, you know, 1 or even none a game, you need to keep those clean sheets. Well, so this December has been about that defence finally finding out that that they can hack it at this level and do so well.
Well, I'm pleased that the two players that I've championed all season, Gardner and Vieira, right? Gardner and Vieira, I have been their strongest supporters, right? While you lot have badmouthed them, right? And now they're finally putting together a great partnership.
Do you forget it's as you tell? Is that what it is?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was. It's all Beastie. You've been banging the Liera. You've got me doing it. The Liera and Gardner formation, the partnership all season, mate. I don't know why the people haven't listened to you. I'm surprised we haven't got a shirt with their name on the front and back.
Well, I liked what Chris Lyons tweeted the other day. Apparently, the players call Gardner the Godfather. How cool is that?
Brilliant.
I think that's just Chris Lyne's accent. You're the Godfather.
Oh dear.
I was going to say something quite salient there, but I've forgotten it with all this Bellendery that we're talking.
You forget stuff then.
So, chaps, we'll go ever so quickly again to Huddersfield, of course, and that's when the yellow cards incident happened. Mr. Hellan, first one running to the box. I mean, it looked like a penalty to me, chaps. I don't know what you thought.
I didn't see any of it because my seat happened to be behind the scoreboard.
Oh, Beastie, they were the best seats I've ever seen.
That were hilarious.
Did you see them photos that I tweeted?
I did, yeah.
How bad them seats?
For obviously those that didn't see the pictures over there on Twitter, again, please do pop over there and follow Beastie on Twitter.
Right, if
you
you
literally
didn't
see half of the pitch, is that right, Beastie?
Well, if you didn't see the photos, go to your front door now, lift up the letterbox and look out through there. Right?
It was like you were watching it in CinemaScope.
It was. I mean, if you look through your letterbox, it's exactly the same view that I've got. Wherever you are in country, right? It's the same view that I got sat in the ground at Huddersfield. You'll see exactly what I saw.
My favourite bit about it was, and I do reference this because you lot give me a load of stick for being the southern one. And my favourite bit was your comment where you posted the picture up, and it did look awful. And you wrote, "How are they getting away with this?" That really made me laugh. How the bloody hell they get away with this? This is rubbish.
To be fair, how long has that stadium been up now? A couple of years, and why is it still like that? Surely they must have thousands of complaints about those seats. It's ridiculous.
To be honest, look, there aren't that many clubs that bring as many as the mighty Sheffield Wednesday, the massive Sheffield Wednesday. So it's probably never come up before.
The thing is, we walked up the stairs to the seats, and they are two seats on their own. Right, they're not with everybody else. Right.
You have your own.
Right, no, you can stop thinking that, right? They haven't reserved them for special people.
Oh, Beastie's going to put on his own.
Right?
Got his name engraved on it.
No, it's not like that, right? We walked up there and I thought, blimey, this is good. This is going to be like sitting at Royal Box. We sat down.
Then it looked like you had a box on your head.
Little did I know it was the Royal Letterbox. And it was the worst view in the history of bad views.
So, although you didn't see the incident, of course, chaps, I don't know if you guys saw it as well over there. The run into the box by Mr. Herrera, brought down, in my opinion, should never have been a yellow card. Looked like a stonewall penalty to me. Fair enough. Second yellow card was a little bit harsh. Well, it was a ridiculous challenge by Helen there, and fair enough, he should have had a yellow card for that one. But and then, of course, hilarity ensued, and he stayed on the pitch, chaps.
Yeah, I have seen it since then, obviously, and I agree with what you said. To me, it looked like a penalty.
Yeah,
I don't have any problem with that. Now, the other thing is, and I know they were all barking that he should have been sent off, but had the referee put the right name in the book, then I'm pretty confident he wouldn't have given him a second yellow card for that other offence. Right? I think
they've all shaved their heads, though, haven't they? So what chance has the ref got?
It's a tactic.
Well, imagine if the referee had shaved his head. Can you imagine what kind of nonsense going to go through there?
Thank God it wasn't Uriah Reddy refereeing. He just sent himself off.
Well, I'm convinced he wouldn't have sent him off anyway if he'd realised that he'd booked him already. It was just a nothing event, really. He got it wrong, and
Isn't that right?
made it worse.
I'll tell you what though, you've got to take on board the shrewdness of Hilan as well, because it's not like he made any gesture to walk off the pitch. He just took his bucket and resumed his position.
Absolutely.
I love the way he did it. His acting was top notch. It's not as if he's turned around to the referee and gone, does that mean I should be walking now? Or do you know what I mean? He's gone, no, cheers ref, booked it, that's great, that's fine.
Was that your French impression there, or are you up the door?
And all that, yeah.
Oui, Chris Waddle.
Talking about French impressions as well, chaps. I think possibly the tweet of the year from Beastie as well. I thought we have a corner.
I thought we have a corner.
I was just pissing by the stadium.
Excuse me, that's exactly
And I
what
heard the shit.
Absolutely.
We have a shit on target.
I am from Nippers.
Nipple.
So, chaps, there goes.
Beastie. Has the Beastie drinking game picked up some pace, by the way? Have we many people playing that beast?
I don't know, do I? I'm usually at game.
No, mate. We're all leathered by the end of it.
To be fair, Mr. Simon Farrow does make sure that when a mistake has been made, people are aware of it. So, on we crack then, chaps. There goes the Huddersfield game. Apart from that, I mean, a couple of decent performances from both keepers, but pretty much one of those games. On we go to Burnley. Less said the better, I think, chaps. Not a fantastic performance. Of course, Mr. Tracy had to pop up his head and pop one in. But I mean, was it that terrible? Do you think the results warranted what happened on the pitch?
Did it come?
It was all of that goodwill that we built up over the preceding games. It was all out the window, because that was as spineless and as poor and as flat a performance as you could imagine.
But was it, Eddie? Was it unexpected? Because so many games in such a short period, you always have the chance that one of the performances is going to be really flat.
Oh no, I understand the reasons why, but it still didn't change the fact that it were absolutely heartbreaking. Coming off, let's be honest, some really good away performances and defensively, some masterclasses there in keeping players out. For that performance to then pop up, it really put all the doubts back in our minds, didn't it? Because instead of thinking we've turned the corner here, it's on the up and up, it's same old Wednesday now.
Well, yeah, but the MK Dons game compounded that feeling as well, didn't it?
Well, that's because we didn't show anything either defensively or attacking. So, yeah, it didn't really help. But again, we can put it all into perspective now because we've had Saturday night and we've had the performance that we showed against Hull. If we hadn't
let's get on to Saturday.
because
let's not talk about MK Dons because that just didn't turn up. Let's get on to Saturday. I'm excited about Saturday.
Before we get on to the whole game, because there is something I want to mention about that. But do you think there is this problem that's been mentioned a few times by Dave Jones and by quite a lot of other people? This thing about playing at home in front of the home crowd, because you can't deny the away performances are miles better.
Well, I tell you what it is, right? People say that what's the term? The 12th man. They say you've got the 12th man when you're at home, and it's amazing. And Hillsborough's quite a daunting stadium as well in terms of noise, especially when the Wednesday fans are behind you. But bear in mind, we're all angry Yorkshiremen, and when it's not going our way, we're going to let the people know about it.
Do you
know what I mean?
We're all angry Yorkshiremen. You live in the south.
Yeah, sorry. You're all angry Yorkshiremen. And when it's not going our way, we're going to let the players know about it. And so when the heads are down and the confidence is on the floor and stuff like that, and we're getting on their backs, I mean, Beastie's forever banging the drum saying, get behind the players, get behind the players. And because if you can imagine 20,000 people saying, you're rubbish, you're this, you're this, it's going to get you down. It's going to be quite daunting, and there's going to be points where you're going to be scared to make that pass in case it don't pull off, and you're going to be scared to make that turn or try and gain that extra yard because you don't want the crowd screaming at you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the reason. The reason I mentioned that is because at Hull there was a notable point in the game where things didn't go our way, right? And it were when they scored. It was like a really big injustice. We'd been denied a clear-cut goal, and then they went straight up the other end and knock that goal. Don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with how they scored. It were a lovely move by them. I don't have any problems with that. But if that had been at home, I know that the atmosphere would have been horrible. That the Wednesday fans would have been muttering same old Wednesday or typical Wednesday, and they would have been on the players' backs. But something fantastic happened at Hull, and it were great to be part of it. I know it was a low turnout. Normally we'd fill that away end, but this time there were about 1,300 of us, and you could feel it amongst the Wednesday fans, the determination that we weren't going to let that set us back. And I don't know if you heard it on the telly coming through, but to be there and be part of that, it was fantastic. That we're going to get behind the team, and we did, and we were singing so loud at that point that they had no choice. The Wednesday players had no choice but to score because the atmosphere was fantastic. And if we could do that at home, I'm not kidding, nobody would get anywhere near us.
It's a funny one for me though, basically, this, because I mean, let's look back at the last maybe 5-6 years, right? And we've played well away from home, and the fans have been the real man of the match every single time away from home, because that's all we had. Because we'd be going places and we'd be a rubbish team playing rubbish football with no real clue, and so the fans were the ones who had to kind of give it some, right? Last season, all that changed because we were a winning team, and we were in a division where we could go there in numbers and we could dominate the home fans, and we were bigger and better, and it was fun because there was an air of superiority there, and that's what brought all the fans together. The good football, we were playing, they were playing for us, and we were singing for them, and blah blah blah, etc. At home, I can't remember a time where there hasn't been that kind of slight cynicism, that slight reserve around Hillsborough. And a lot of people say, oh, well, you know what it is? It's because we all remember, it's not that long ago that we had John Sheridan and we had Chris Waddle and we had David Hurst and John, and that's why we don't cheer our team on, because we remember how good they were, and we're always trying to measure the current team against that team that we saw. But you know what? It's coming up 20 years since, well, it is 20 years since we had that team, right? So there's probably a good proportion of Hillsborough who don't even remember that. And also, I can't remember being, 14, 15, or not even before that, when I was 11, 12, and we were playing Larry May and Greg Fee and Colin West, right? I can't remember hearing a big groundswell of people going, well, he's no John Fantham. It didn't happen. So I never really believed this idea that Hillsborough, the atmosphere at Hillsborough is always slightly poisoned by the fact that we're not watching the greatest Wednesday team we ever played. No. I just think that deep down, we like to have a bit of a moan.
Well, my young'un, she knows who they are. Obviously she knows who Chris Waddle are and John Sheridan, but they're not her generation, right? They are not her players. These are her players. Right, we've had 2 generations going through at Hillsborough since the likes of Sheridan and Waddle. Right, we need to move on. I find it so sad, if you like, that we cannot take that good feeling that we have at some away games and use it to our advantage in home games. It really, really does bother me, because all we seem to want to do is be ready. We're always prepared and ready. I'm sure fans go there with a big sack full of crap to hurl at the players, right? They're just waiting. They've got 90 minutes worth of crap in a bag to hurl at the players, because that's what they enjoy. They paid the money. This is what I want to do with it, right? But you go, and there might be something in this, that when you've got a smaller amount of fans going to away games, you're sort of down to a hard core of the fans.
You've got that camaraderie. I must admit, there's a
Definitely
genuine difference between going to away games and going to home games in terms of atmosphere. I mean, you go down for a 2-0 loss down at Bournemouth, and the people you're down there with are some hardcore people. Albeit I've only come down half an hour down the road, but the people that have come down from Sheffield, there's a camaraderie there. You start recognising faces, and people start seeing who you are, and you start noticing people and that sort of stuff, and then they're like, oh, come here, have a beer, kid, and all that sort of stuff. I think it's fantastic. But when you get people that just come...
You bang on the money there, Fudge. I see people every week at away games, and I ain't got a clue what the names are.
Yeah.
I see the same faces, and we always talk to each other. We always, we never pass without saying words, and we always have a natter. But I ain't got a clue what the
your
names.
daughter. You should probably get to know her a bit better.
Yeah, you can't keep calling her Na then, or Lado. You know what I mean?
So, chaps, we'll crack on with the game there. Let's have a little look. And first of all, the very first incident of that game was the awful, ridiculously awful challenge by Mr. Fay. 2-footer challenge, no yellow card. I mean, straight red, in my opinion.
Well, it was, wasn't it? I think there was a game on Match of the Day later on where some other player committed exactly same sort of foul, and I think he got a red, didn't he? Was it Company?
I believe it was. That's right.
He did the same thing and got a red card.
Upshot being, he left the ground and he had his feet up. It was a 2-footer challenge. It was no different to that one that Ian Wright did on Peter Schmeichel, where he stamped in on his leg. In my eyes, it was ridiculous. All right, momentum's carried him, and he was sliding out with one leg, but he brought his other one round and slid through him. Whether he got the ball or not, he could have crippled him.
That winds me up no end with the argument of I got the ball. You show me in the rules where it says if you get the ball, then it's a fair challenge. That means you could run onto the pitch with a gun, shoot somebody in the head, and pick the ball up and say, "Well, I got the ball." I hate that. Ooh, it drives me crazy. So
it's old football, that though, isn't it? That's it. In the old days, if you got the ball, it was a fair challenge. It didn't matter if you'd gone through the back of him. It didn't matter if you'd, jumped out of the stand and taken his head off. As long as you make the ball, you've got a fair shout that it was a fair challenge. In this day and age, we've got the instant, the endless number of replays, the instant replays. There is no way that anyone can look at that and say that was a safe challenge. He'd left the ground. Both sets of studs were up. That it should have been off. But you know what? I'm not going to complain about it because the referee sees it in real time. And any referee and any linesman is only human. And so I'll never get upset that the decision hasn't gone our way. I'll only get upset if a referee is clearly biased against us, and a lot of the time we at Hillsborough we seem to think that that's the case.
Right.
It was a terrible challenge. He should have been sent off, but he wasn't, and we're just happy that it didn't cost us in the long run.
Right. The players did do that. They just got up and they got on with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But then a few minutes later, don't get me wrong, it led to good things for us. But to me, that challenge on Helan that led to the free kick should have been a booking because
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no way on earth that lad is trying to get the ball. All he's trying to do is stop Helan from running.
Steps in front of him. Does it?
Right. So that's a yellow card.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you've then got a right back that's got to watch his step. And that lad who was their right back had a cracking game. I thought he was one of their better players. But you put him on a yellow card that early in the game, and he has a totally different game.
Unless you're playing against Huddersfield, in which case you can have 3 or 4 yellow cards.
Depending if they've shaved their head.
So as Beast said, of course, the foul on Helan there did lead to the free kick, knocked in by Mr. McCabe and nodded on by who else? Who else is it going to be, chaps? The man with the greatest beard in football, Reader. There he goes, nods away.
Mr. T, follow the Raider, follow the Raider. Yes.
Yeah. And all Steve Bruce banged on about was that it was offside. I think
Lara was offside.
Yeah, but he was complaining about it should have been stopped for offside because Lara was offside. What he needs to do is he needs to check with the rules. Had Lara headed that ball in, then obviously he would have given offside.
Yeah.
As it was, he didn't touch the ball. Right?
Well, you can't trust the opinion of a man whose 2 parts of his nose, one's going down the shops and the other part's coming back with a change. You can't trust the opinion of a man like that. You don't know what he's talking about.
My young'un has this theory about his hair. She's got this thing about Steve Bruce's hair. She thinks during the week he don't wear it. He has a little old woman that takes it out to dry it for him. So there's a little old woman that's wearing Steve Bruce's hair during the week.
Goes down for a blue ring Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
I think it'd be much easier to get Beastie's younger on here than have Beastie for the volume.
Yeah, let's talk about the younger generation. See who she remembers. Because I'll tell you what.
The brains of the operation, isn't she?
No, her memory's more selective than mine.
The family trait.
I tell you what, a memory, a new generation. I noticed the other day that Michael Appleton has ended up with the Blackburn job. Christ knows how he's got that. I was all behind him getting the Blackpool job. I thought he did it with some dignity down at Portsmouth, and then, all right, I don't mind him getting a bigger job. I always got Blackburn, he's mental. But his first team coach is Ashley Westwood, who obviously used to play for us. And he was there in 2003 when we were utter garbage. And it dawned on me, I can't remember a bloody player from back then. I think I've genuinely just chopped it out of my mind that entire season. I can't remember it for me.
You don't remember singing Super Dan, Super Dan, Super Dan, Super Danny Maddox. You don't know?
Yeah, it was Danny Maddox and was it Gillian and Sunderland Dungo, or was that the year after?
You know how people have these little images in their heads of the saddest thing that they've ever seen?
Super Danny Maddox.
No, that's it. Like, I don't know, you see a mummy hedgehog walking across the road with little babies and they all get run over. Well, sadder than that, stay with me. Right.
Watch it down.
Sadder than that, we went into the shop one day, me and the young un, and there was this little kid, and he couldn't decide whose photo he wanted the most. Either Danny Maddox or Ashley Westwood. Now you tell me if there is a sadder image.
That is sadder. He had a dartboard and he was just looking for something to pin up onto it.
No, this was like a kid at Christmas morning. He couldn't make his mind up.
Well, can you imagine how happy he must feel now? Because he must watch Martin Taylor and think, bloody hell, we've signed, the greatest defender in the history of football. Well, he said that Danny Maddox shaved his head, and so, to be honest, he might think that he's still watching Danny Maddox.
Well, he is still playing.
He's got the same cataracts as Beastie.
Hey, I've got ear cataracts.
I've only got one memory from that, those kind of 3 or 4 seasons, which were just seeing Derek Geary's back as he played away from us, and just seeing GAY on his shirt because our letters were the same colour as the stripes. So just seeing gay on the back of his shirt.
Tell you what, this should be a new segment, this, shouldn't it? Join us next week for more Trip Down Memory Lane in the glory years.
Anyway, Hull.
Yes, absolutely. Hull. There was a couple more incidents. The first one of which was Antonio had a clear chance, but fluffed it with an awful first touch. Very unlike Antonio. It was ridiculous.
Totally fluffed that one. He did. It was awful. Touch of an elephant. It was JJ that did the initial run, wasn't it?
Was it?
Was it Helen?
Yeah, it was. I think the ball came out from Giles Cope. Beautiful. Upfield ball from Giles Coke, landed on a tanner for JJ. He swept forward and then looked up, and there's Antonio in absolutely acres of space. And his first touch. Oh, Lordy.
I don't know why I just didn't hit it.
Right, to be fair, that's the only thing that keeper did right all night.
Yeah, I think I saw a great tweet of saying, I've never seen somebody stretch it off with a bruised ego before.
I was wondering how long it was going to take him to surgically remove the gloves from his face. It were at least 5 minutes before you even saw whether he'd been hit or not, because there's 2 massive gloves right across the face.
Well, apparently he was kept in hospital last night, wasn't he? So with concussion, but it's the first time that I've ever seen anybody embarrassed into concussion. That's got to be at first.
I saw a picture the next day, and he had Sondico on either side of his head.
Yeah, of course. I assumed that he just got glove face and.
That's the thing. He's got glove face.
Yeah, because if you look, right.
Where's John? He's not coming today. Well, we had a game of 5-a-side at weekend. He's got glove face. Oh, bloody hell! He's never going to get past that. That's 4 days out.
Get the surgeon in. We've got a glove face coming in. Right, if you look, right, all that time he went on the floor, right, his hands were on his face, right, they were stuck to his face, and when they put him on the stretcher, they were still stuck to his face. So they've had him in hospital all night with gloves on his face.
At least 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure they removed his hands. His hands were by his side, but the gloves were still there.
Still stuck to his face.
I tell you what, Nurse, you better get the white spirits. We're going to be here all night.
It was like the worst version of Alien I've ever seen.
So somebody go down the DIY shop. We need a wallpaper scraper and some white spirits.
Oh, poor old chap.
No, I'll tell you what, lads, you were talking about Giles Coke, and it was something that B said about that it was kind of a turning point and a victory. It was for Dave Jones, that one. You know what? That's what made Saturday so special, that it was kind of a turning point for so many players and you know, so many parts of the team. You had obviously Dave Jones, who had kind of masterminded this tactically, and it worked absolutely perfectly. We kept Hull, who, let's be honest, was scoring for fun and hadn't conceded a goal in 92 years. You know, we absolutely put them back in their box. But also the return of Giles Coke, which were brilliant. He was imperious. He looked like the player that he was in these first couple of games in a Wednesday shirt, where he just looked like a super classy number 10. He ran the show, absolutely. And then at the back, you had Reader coming back, and it were like that kind of Reader and Lara tag team where the two of them spend the entire game. Who can be the biggest crowd favourite? And they just, literally, who can cheer up the away fans more, and who can be the biggest bastard on the pitch, and just go through the opposition players, get up there, score goals, do everything. It was a proper mano-a-mano job. I can imagine that they were in the showers afterwards, go, oh yeah, I scored a goal, it's no problem, and I forgot his name, Lara. Lara's like, okay, I wear the head guard, and look at the size of my schlong in the shower, it's really big.
In my head.
I thought that first one was the Spanish accent.
I'm not very good. I've been to France.
And then it was Scottish. So you did Raider as being Spanish and then Lara as being Scottish.
Well, don't start with me. Giles Coke, I thought he was going to be Scottish. They interviewed him after the match and he's, I'm cool, blimey, governor. It's an amazing game we just played, isn't it?
Oh, by the way,
I thought you were doing fudge then.
Brilliant. Speaking of Giles Coke, has he unblocked you, Lord Hillsborough?
Yes, he has. I'm not I wasn't a Giles Coke fan, shall we say. When he did make his return to the Wednesdays last season, he had a belting game at that point as well. And I must admit, after he's unblocking me on Twitter as well, I'm sort of jumping on the Coke bandwagon, shall we say?
Whoa. It's some of us who work as DJs might see that a slightly different way to the intention.
Hence the laughing.
It has been the festive season, chaps, and we have been away a long time.
We have now got a potential midfield partnership of Coke lines, and that means if that's not a headline in the Sun, then this thing writes itself. To be fair, do you know what I mean? I'm wasting it.
Now, of course, chaps, just
hang on a minute. I just want to say something here. You're jumping on Coke bandwagon now. I find it just a little bit sad that you lot are prepared to slate our players so readily every week, and then as soon as they have one good game, you're right.
To be fair, at least I remember that I did hate him, and now he's all right by me. He's all right, the old chap. I was very.
The goal meant something to him. The goal that never was meant something to him, and I think that resonated with a lot of people who are on the fence about Giles Coke. To be honest, I thought we had better midfielders in the squad. When we saw the lineup, it was a bit odd. It was kind of like we're resigned to. It would look like one of them squads that you get where they go, sod it, we're going to lose this. Let's give some of the fringe players a go. So we've got a good team next week.
I think it was that if we have to pick 6 midfielders, we haven't actually got that many in the squad. So Giles Scott was just next on the list.
You know the beauty of that whole situation when he scored, and let's be honest. It was a cracking goal.
Oh, brilliant.
Absolutely.
When you watch it again, and I'm sure that refs watched it again and thought, blimey, that's another thing I got wrong. Because it was just a dreadful, dreadful decision. But he celebrated right in front of the Wednesday fans, and you could see it etched right across his face how much that meant to him. And to celebrate like that. And we were going mental, absolutely mental. And of course, you know what it's like when you're celebrating like that. And then it's ruled out. And you're
horrible.
You're right at the side of the Hull fans. We were really up close and personal. So they were giving us it, both battles. It was just horrible. It's one of them situations. You love it when you're in the opposite corner. You love to give it out, but when it's like that, it's just awful. And I said to Youngman, we've got to turn this around because I want us to score now, just so that we can give them it back. Then a few minutes later, they went and rubbed it in even more, didn't they, by scoring? And they were absolutely impossible. Then Hull fans singing, "We'll score when we want."
My heart went out to all the Wednesday fans who were there, because I remember the last time we played Hull at the KC, and kind of the same thing happened. We went 1-0 up and we ended up 2-1 down. And I can remember it was early in the season. It was a disappointing season in the end, but it would just turn you. You just knew that it wasn't going to be our season. And like you say, they're right on top of you. They're so close, and you could see the spit exiting their mouths as they're singing. 1-0 and you effed it up, and you just think, I'm so angry now. I want us to score. And so I was so glad that we actually managed to do the job this time round and put them back in their box.
This is why that people who don't go to football will never, ever appreciate that little microcosm of drama that went on in those few minutes. You can watch as much football as you want on the telly, but you'll never, ever experience that few minutes there. The highs of Giles Cope scoring that goal, the lows of it being ruled out, the panic when they broke upfield so quickly, trying to do a Millwall to us, and then them scoring to really rub it in, and the new low that brings with it. But then, a minute later, for us to come right down the other end and score under them circumstances with old glove face, it just... I think
really, got some antibiotics for it, by the way, so get well soon.
It really doesn't get any better than that. And being at the football is all about those few minutes there, the highs and lows. For both sets of fans, right? Yeah. For Wednesday and for Hull fans, it was an incredible moment. And up there with anything that we experienced last season, those few minutes were just absolutely fantastic, and I loved every last drop of it.
That's it though, BC, that maybe for the first time this season, or certainly maybe since 2-0 down against Derby and get back to 2-2, it felt like last season. And that was like crack last year. It was the most amazing feeling to be part of those games and going there in that final 13-game run and going there and doing things that you didn't think that Wednesday could do, or certainly doing things that Wednesday teams hadn't done in the last decade. So Saturday was like getting a little bit of that back again, getting a little bit back of that Antonio goal against Carlisle, getting a little bit back of Lera's header against Brentford. It was getting back everything that we were promised for this season and that up till recently hadn't really been delivered.
Yeah, I think you bang on there, Eddie. If we'd have done a preview on this game, apart from me, I think you would have all been saying that we're getting nothing out of this game.
Damn right.
You'd have all been saying, no, we're going to lose. And I'd have been saying, no, I think we're going to win 3-1 and we'll save a penalty. But you lot would have been trying to rubbish me and badmouth me. And a lot of fans before that game won't have expected us getting anything from there. And certainly the Hull fans saw it as an easy 3 points. But it was anything but. And like we've said, it wasn't just isolated incidents. It was a fantastic performance from start to finish. And for Antonio to finish it off how he did and show, what's his face, Robbie Corran, how to do a one-on-one.
Yeah.
It don't get any better because I know we haven't mentioned it, but when Chris Kirkland made that one-on-one block at the end of the first half,
beautiful.
That changed the shape of the game.
There was no way he was saving that, was there? There was no way he was saving that. That was, it was. There were no support from any of the defence. It was Kirkland coming out in vain to try and stop Corran, slotting it past him, going into the opposite corner. Job done. 1-1. Let's all go home and start again. No, not a bit of it. Kirkland made himself huge. It was like Peter Schmeichel coming out.
Well, you could feel it amongst the Wednesday fans. Everybody were like holding the breath. They were like a collective gasp, and everybody thought, this is it. All that hard work that we've done for 40 minutes, it's gone. In a heartbeat like that, it's gone. And then it was like a goal, wasn't it? Well, it was the equivalent of Kirkland scoring a goal. It was just fantastic.
I tell you what, I am concerned though that with Kirkland playing so well, and Beastie, you seem to know about this, is glove face contagious?
Well,
I'm a bit worried that we might have to drop in Nicky Weaver or Bywater.
I don't think he'll get it. I think he's hardened to it.
But to everything these days, old Kirtland, old boy.
Lads, I am truly sorry, but I have got to go to work. I've been sat here, I could speak miles all day with you, but I am on the clock. So I'm going to sign off now. I'll let you finish it off. I trust you completely. Follow me, Fudge and Dave, on Twitter. Thanks a lot to Cy Farrow and Lee Brown for nominating us for the Shorty Award. I'm sure you guys will talk about that. And keep an eye out for that glove face. I'll catch you boys later.
One love, brother.
Catch you later.
See you later.
So as Fudge pops off to keep an eye on the steel wheels, shall we say, we shall finish and put this game to bed. Of course, we say the Antonio one-on-one goal. The very best thing about that for me, chaps, was did you see Mr. Quinn sliding in trying to cut Antonio in half?
It was beautiful.
And the look at his face as Antonio just strode away from him was
he'd
beautiful.
He'd had a bit of stick throughout the night at Stephen Quinn. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Stephen Quinn, as a human being, I've got a lot of time for him. He's a cracking lad around the Sheffield community. In fact, all the Quinns are. They do a lot for the Sheffield community. They get involved actively with supporting charities. I've got nothing but good things to say about him. But when he's on that pitch, he is a former pig. And I really, really dislike him. And all through that game, he was getting some stick. I don't know if you saw that in the first half when he flicked that header on and ran in front of the Wednesday fans who were questioning his parentage and all sorts of choice phrases. And he gave a gesture back, and it was just fantastic. He was smiling as he did it, right? Because it was just good banter between the two. But to see him flailing like he did to try and bring Antonio down, it was fantastic. And this is what I was on about. If you replay those two incidents, the one where Kirkland stopped the one-on-one and the one where Antonio scored, they're pretty much identical in how they happened, because they happened from the halfway line, a flick on, where it left the defence for dead. But how they handled it, the keepers and the two strikers, were totally different. And it was just a perfect end. To the game for us. That wasn't the end.
There was still more.
There was still more incident after that, wasn't there? But to us, it was the end of the game, and a lot of Hull fans started to leave at that point, which is when we all started singing "Is There a Fire Drill?" Because they were. I'm not kidding. It were virtually empty. There were only Wednesday fans left in at that point. So minutes later, when Helan then tripped their lad, which outside the box, if you ask me.
Oh, it was close.
Certainly the initial contact was well outside, wasn't it?
Again, if you watch Match of the Day, there's incidents on that where similar things have happened, and they gave the free kick outside the box.
Absolutely.
But the Wednesday fans weren't bothered, because we thought, right, they're going to score this. It makes no odds. They will not beat us. This is our game. But again, Chris Kirkland had other ideas, didn't he?
He certainly did. To be fair, it was a shocking penalty, and it was. Sorry,
I know. No, you're in order saying that. A lot of people say that, but they only say that about penalties that are saved. Right? Now, to me, he got down low, he got down quick, and he stopped the penalty. That's all he can do.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
Kirkland does really well there, because he's kind of taken a leaf out of those top European keepers' books where. Sorry, excuse me, there appears to be a cycling tragedy going on in my house.
Have you dropped your contact lenses?
I don't know what it. I can only say that those bottles that you've heard in the background spilling and crashing to the ground, that only represents 2 or 3 days of my drinking. So we're going to be all right, at least for the rest of this season, before I go into intensive care. Kirkland's way of saving that penalty, it was very, very modern, because he didn't have any ideas about stupid things like staying on his line. He was at least 5 yards out of his line at the point where he saved it. He gave it the full. It was like the Van der Sar jump forward job But you know what? And Beach, you're absolutely right. They only talk about being a bad penalty when it's saved. But the one way to stop keepers coming off their line and dropping down and saving those is to not put it on the floor. So, in this day and age, you've got to take a risk and try and put it in top corner. And you're risking a bit of a Chris Waddle there sometimes, but, it's still, that's the only way to put it away. So, great save. It kind of preserved the integrity of our win because we put Hull away properly, and they probably didn't. They deserved the one goal, to be honest, but they didn't deserve any more than that. And so it was the perfect end to what had been a rip-roaring 113 minutes of football.
Did you notice that our defenders had learnt from their mistakes before? Where
they were in there like a shot, weren't they?
It was against Huddersfield, I think, wasn't it, where Kirkland saved it and nobody followed in. This time, they were in like Flinders, quick as you like.
They were in there, but they seemed to spend most of their time just heading straight for him to give him high fives for saving. I don't care where the ball was. They were just mobbing him.
Yeah, the Antonio goal was the killer punch.
Yeah.
But that save was just the icing on the cake, and it just brought to an end a fantastic 90 minutes. Like I said before, fantastic 90 minutes as a team effort. Fantastic individual performances by all the players involved, and by the manager, and by the 1,300 fans that travelled. It was just a good night to be part of Sheffield Wednesday, and I loved it.
Do we think, boys, that this could now be a turning point? I've talked about it being a turning point for so many people connected with Sheffield Wednesday, the manager, so many of the players, etc. We're going into this tomorrow night, MK Dons. I don't think that really has a bearing on it. Saturday against Wolves, we are back at home, and we've talked about the problems that we have at home in getting the crowd behind us, etc., etc. Do we think that this is a turning point? Do we think this is a false dawn? And Beastie, I appreciate that whatever you say now, it doesn't matter, because in 2 weeks' time, you're going to tell us that what you said was right anyway.
No, that's not true, Eduardo. That is not true. I always stick to my guns. Right? But what I will say is, I'm pretty convinced that the mistakes that we've made earlier in the season against teams who have lofty ambitions, shall we say, who I think stole points off us, the likes of Bolton, Wolves, Blackburn, I am convinced that we will get those 3 points back when we play those teams again. And that starts this Saturday. Right, against Wolves. I'm convinced that we will get the 3 points back against them. If we play anywhere near how we played against Hull, we are a match for anybody in this division.
I agree.
There's absolutely nothing to fear from anyone. The players have now set a benchmark, and because it was on telly, all the Wednesday fans saw it. So they will demand that, especially at home. I just hope that the Wednesday fans at Hillsborough can raise their own game as well. Because if the players are going to play well, then the Wednesday fans need to be right on their mark, and they need to get behind them like we did at Hull, like we did at Huddersfield, like we did at Bolton. And let's make sure that we are the 12th man. I do think it's a turning point, Eddie. I really do. Well, more than that, I hope it's a turning point. I hope we can leap forward from this and really grasp what's left of this season by throat.
Now, here. Lord, do you see that we're going to do something different tactically? Because I think about us coming back to Hillsborough. Are we going to play 4 at the back and 6 in midfield again? Given that it worked really well against Hull, it's going to be a different. There's going to be something different there with us setting up as a home team against Wolves.
It's an interesting one because Dave Jones doesn't seem to have a set agenda for the team, shall we say, and he does seem to set up against teams differently for the team that we're playing. If you take my meaning, I mean, again, look at that whole game. The main weapon that we had with that whole game was the speed of the counter attack. Of course, you've got Halan, JJ, and Antonio there, and that's the reason that Dave Jones set it up like that. Of course, Prutton was out, and there was a bit of a question for the midfield there. So I honestly do believe that Dave Jones he's got his his thinking cap on about the opposition that we played. Of course, Wolves are a tragic side, and if Dave Jones does think that the counter attack is going to be the way forward, of course, from there, then I can't see him changing it. Again, if he does want someone to sit up front and wait for that ball to be lofted up to him, then it looks like he does seem to be favouring Sidibe at the moment. So it's an interesting one, Chas. But I must admit, I can't imagine there's going to be a sort of at least 5 in the middle, because he does seem to be favouring a lone striker at the moment. Unfortunately, that lone striker seems to be Sidibe.
Now, I wonder whether he's going to feel that there's some pressure there to carry on playing those players who did so well on Saturday night, and I think that does mean playing 5 in midfield. I can't imagine him dropping Giles Coke after that performance, for instance. But I suspect that we will see a big man up top. You know, he's going to be a brave man indeed if he decides that he's going to go with Antonio as the point man in this and try and play like he did on Saturday, because we're going to have to dictate a lot of the running on Saturday night. I can imagine we can do it. Absolutely we can do it, but it means playing Antonio, JJ and another as a 3, kind of holding a very high line up the pitch. And I wonder whether he's going to have the balls to do that, rather than say, let's have a conventional striker with Antonio and JJ either side.
The problem that Dave Jones has got is that players like Giles Coke and JJ are inconsistent. They can come out with a game like that for the first time in ages and absolutely tear it up, and everybody thinks, well, where have they been? Why haven't they been playing like this all the time? Well, the reason they haven't been playing is because they haven't been good enough. They haven't shown any consistency. What it Sturrock that said about Chris Brunt, he turns up and he's like Beckham. It's just that we don't know which Beckham it is. One day it can be David Beckham, and next day it can be Victoria. So it is a problem not knowing, because they're not machines. These players, they have good days and they have bad days. But let me ask you this then, because given how many points we've taken over the last few games, and we are top of that form table, the amount of stick that Dave Jones has had. And especially before the ball's been kicked, just as soon as people see the team sheet, they're having a go at him. Do you think now he's bought himself the luxury of being able to pick a team without criticism? Do you think he's able to say, this is who's playing, this is the formation that we are going to play, without Wednesday fans saying, he's barking, he's lost it, I'm not going anymore.
I'll tell you what, BC, I'll tell you what. There was a rather good point in the whole game that sort of sums Dave Jones up, and I think it's more or less how he's going at this moment. The moment where the chap went off the pitch and pushed Dave Jones. Remember that incident at the whole game?
Mohammed.
Yeah, Mohammed.
Absolutely. And it all looked a little bit fracas, and Dave Jones, quite calm, gave him a little shove back, and then put his hands in his pocket and smiled. And it was just that smile. Now, I think Dave Jones is the type of chap now that's sort of reading the papers and looking at Twitter. I'm sure he does follow us all on Twitter, and he's looking at that now with his hands in his pocket and he's smiling and he's thinking, look, you might have doubted a bit, but there you go, chaps. There's your results. It's all coming together, and I think that's what's happening. I think Dave Jones is relaxing into it. I think we can safely say that the team is now his. I think the legacy of Medine, what's his that ginger chap. We used to shout for, Megson is now sort of faded into the background, and I think we can safely say that this is now Dave Jones's team. And again, I think that little smile he had on Saturday pretty much summed it all up.
But this is my point. This is my point, Lord H. This is my point. Whatever Dave Jones decided against Barnsley, right? Whether you like the performance or not, it worked. The decision he made against Charlton, it worked. It worked against Bolton and it worked against Huddersfield. Fair enough, it didn't work for whatever reasons at Burnley. We got a draw against MKD and then we battered Hull. So that's one blip, really, in all those games, right? In 7 games? Surely he's earned the right to say, this is what I think, and that will get us the points. Right?
Absolutely.
And the fans need to just rein it in a bit. Sure, that's my point. The fans need to rein it in a little bit.
Listen, Dave Jones has got broad enough shoulders for this. Any football manager does as well. You know, football managers live and die on the results. And it's accepted, and that's absolutely fine. Dave Jones knows that, and he knows that sometimes the decisions that he makes are going to be hailed as masterstrokes, and sometimes the performances of the players fall short of what he expected, and he's going to be the one that carries the can for that. But he accepts that. Every football manager accepts that. I think what is absolutely key to the whole performance is that those players who have been playing under an awful lot of pressure, who have been playing at the wrong end of a division, and have been playing really kind of scrappy, backs-to-the-wall type performances, they've gone out there and they've dominated a team. You know, those players are now walking on air. They've got that weight off their shoulders, that monkey off their back. And so Saturday is their chance now to kind of, they've got a bit of breathing space. They've got that half step backwards. They can actually, you know, they can feel a little bit of enjoyment as to what they're doing. So let's get behind them. Let's push them on to a good performance and a victory against Wolves. And then who knows where we can go. You know, if we can finish this season in the top half of the league, it has been an absolute triumph. But if anything else, let's just get up to that group of teams that are 16th, 17th, 18th in this league and stop looking over our shoulders so much. Let's actually get back into it and prove that we are worthy of being in this division.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, my problem is that I never even think about formations and whether one player should be playing over another one. It doesn't really matter to me. When I go to a game, the 11 players that are on the pitch with Wednesday shirts on, all I want to do is support that team, right? After the game, have a whinge if you want, but don't whinge at the game. They're our players. They are the 11 that's been chosen to represent Sheffield Wednesday. They're the 11 that's going to do the business for us. And that's all that matters to me. And all I want to do is go and watch Sheffield Wednesday. Whoever's wearing that shirt, it's irrelevant to me.
Jolly well said, old boy. Jolly well said. So, chaps, then, Wolves, ever so quickly, Beastie, let's have a prediction from you and your wonderful Wednesday following brain.
Right. As I've said, we owe Wolves one. So, I am, even though they've got the enigmatic, charismatic Dean Saunders in charge now, I still expect us to win. And I'm going to go for 3-1. I want us to pace them. I want us to leave no stone unturned. I want us to cover every blade of grass on that pitch. I want us to do a hole to them because they've got it coming after that, stealing 3 points at theirs. So there you go, 3-1.
Jolly good. Andy, old boy, what do you think?
Yeah, they mugged us at theirs and they weren't a good team. And to be honest, I think at the time when they beat us there, I think we all thought, well, Wolves haven't started the season well, but no, the truth is they're not a good team. And now they've got a new manager. I don't like Dean Saunders. I'd love to stick one on him. I'm wary about it. I don't think it's going to be an easy game, but I think we've got enough about us, and I think we're riding a little bit of crest of a wave. So I'm going to go, because I think our defence, especially with Reader in there, is now impermeable. And I guarantee I'll be eating my words, but I'm going to go for a 2-0.
Very good. Well, I'm expecting a clean sheet, chaps. I mean, the way Kirkland's been playing recently, we've looked right back to the Barnsley match. He was incredibly busy at Barnsley, and of course, every game we've seen a decent performance from him, really, barring the Burnley game, of course. And the defence does seem... So I'm going to go for a clean sheet as well, but I think the way Wolves are playing at the moment, and obviously with Mr. Saunders there, they do expect a little bit of an uptake, as I say, when the new manager comes in, but I think they're due a trouncing from us. So I'm going to say...
It can't be... Sorry, go on.
I'm going to say 3-0 to Wednesdays.
I was just going to say, I know you love your keepers, but there can't be any doubts about Kirkland anymore, can there?
No. But honestly, as much as we said Lee Grant, fantastic, up-and-coming keeper, blah, 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 as much as Nicky Weaver, he's a Wednesdayite, and at that level he looks absolutely fantastic, and as much as Bywater is absolutely mental, and still manages to athletically save goals, Chris Kirkland is the best keeper we've had in a long, long, long time.
Yep.
And I'm so glad that he's managed to put his career back on track, because it looks like, and I'm touching wood all over the place here, but it looks like he's going to go all the way through the season for us and play a massive number of games. And it's been coming a long time. And I really hope that he can be part of a really successful Wednesday side, because he won't be far out of the England reckoning. He's still a young lad.
Yeah, well said.
Absolutely. And of course, we do have the England under-18s keeper in the Wednesday ranks as well. So, chaps, that's the Wolves game, which we're going to absolutely transmit, put to bed. Again, looking at the transfer news, of course, we are in the January transfer window at the moment. There's not a great deal going off at the moment, chaps. It's rather bare there at the moment. Exactly.
I was waiting for Eddie to jump in there.
You know what? I suspect that we won't go through this entire transfer window without anything happening. I suspect there will be something, but it's not as if we are now desperately looking for people to fill gaps all over the park. It's about getting the most out of what we've got, and Milan seems to have been very clear on it that we are cutting our cloth according to we're cutting our cloth accordingly. I mean, they always say, what is it according to? I've got no idea. We're cutting our cloth accordingly. We're not going to go crazy and spend silly money. We might get one or two players, maybe on kind of loans to the end of the season, which could improve it. But I don't expect anything to happen until probably this time next week, and then the wheels will start to get in motion.
Absolutely. And what about players popping out, chaps? Do we think anybody might be leaving us?
Well, there's definitely going to be people leaving, isn't there? It's all part of this, like Eddie said, cutting his cloth to whatever it was that Eddie said we're cutting his cloth to.
Got into the pattern.
He lost me somewhere. He went off on a Grandpa Simpson ramble, didn't he?
That was cheap cloth at one point.
Yes, because that was the style in those days.
We've got a 1950 suit on. There's been speculation about Mr. Medina. This is only speculation, following bits and bobs over there on the tinterwebs, about Mr. Medina maybe going out on loan and seeing if he can get his spark back. Of course, it has worked out quite well for Mr. Prutton and, of course, Mr. Coke that's had a spell away from us and come back swinging. But I suppose it really is a case of watch this space, chaps, and I'm sure by next week we may have a little bit more news to report, or at least something a bit more juicier than I saw it on tinterwebs.
I don't think using the phrase "coming out swinging" in conjunction with Gary Medina is the best use of English.
No, that's coming out with a flamethrower.
Well, I would actually totally on a different path altogether when you said he's come back swinging.
Oh, no.
I was thinking of car keys in bowl.
With whatever goes on at your dinner party, just stay there. All right, Rich and we're young pups, and we don't know what you're talking about.
So, chaps, on with Pop, and as I say, with a couple of our listeners out there, notably, of course, Mr. Farrow and Mr. Lee, that's been on the programme before, have apparently nominated for a Shorty Award.
And they are quite a big deal because the award ceremony is in New York.
Literally cannot wait, lads.
So how good would that be if we were shortlisted and we went over for a weekend?
Well, there's Mr. Jones over there from the New York Owls that's been on the show once or twice.
We can all crash at it.
Party around at Paddy's house then, yeah?
Yep.
We may be invading quite soon.
Well, they have the full list as it stands in order. And so far, we're not in the top 20. The top on the podcaster award has got 399 votes.
Is that all?
Lads, we can do this.
Well, in 19th position, they have 11 votes.
Oh, my word.
And we are not on that front page, so we're somewhere behind that. I've just found us on the list. Breaking news. We are in a tie for 29th.
A tie for 29th?
Yeah.
Beast, how many votes have we got?
We have, hang on, let me count them. 2.
Right, I've not voted yet, so is that you? Is that you too?
No, that will be Lee and that will be Si.
So legendary fans, super fans of the show.
So, Beastie, if people want to see that list, where do they need to go to?
They need to go to shortyawards.com.
Absolutely.
And then click on the podcaster category. In fact, I tell you, did I say we were in 29th? We're in 28th.
28.
Moving up already.
Them in 29th. They've only got one vote. We're tied 28th. You'll find us on page 5.
Fantastic. So we'll have an update of this throughout the year, and we shall, like I say, we'll get that that trip over to New York yet. So, chaps, have we had any other Wednesday news before we put an end to this monster podcast?
No, I think that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing from me.
Eddie, oh boy, if people want to get hold of you, where can they get hold of you on the Tinterwebs?
To be honest, I'm trying to stay off the internet nowadays because I've just learned about this Shorty Award, and it turns out that my wife's actually nominated me for a Shorty Award, but not in any of the categories that we've discussed. Let's be honest. No, you can find me. I'm on Twitter at Sausage Arms, or you could also find me lounging around Owls Talk, or at the Beautiful Wednesdayite website. So come and have a word.
Absolutely. Beastie, oh boy, if people want to get hold of you and see what's fantastically wonderful match day bits and bobs you get up to, where can they find you?
You can find me at Musclebound Greek God, bronzed, greased up, statuesque.
Grinding.
Yeah, no, not grinding.com, that's something totally different.
At shavedhead.com.
No, not shaved head. You can find me over at owlsalive.com or on Twitter at beastie_.
Fantastic. Of course, Mr. Fudge was here earlier. You can find him over there on Facebook. Do a search for Fudge and Dave on Facebook, and you can also get over with him over there on Twitter at Fudge and Dave. Get over with me over there on Twitter at Lord H. That's L0RD_H. Of course, for all the contact details for the podcast, please pop over to the website. Not quite as beautiful as the Wednesday Night website, but we're working on it. That's www.thewednesdayweek.com. So then, chaps, onwards and upwards, MK Dons, and we'll here we come. Let's have a great big rousing cheer for the guys.
Way!
And it's goodbye from all of us here at the Wednesday Week, ladies and gents, and we shall see you very soon.
The chances.